Welcome to Stress-Free IEP. You do not need to do it all alone. With your host, Frances Shefter, Principal of Shefter Law. You can get more details and catch prior episodes at www.shefterlaw.com. The Stress-Free IEP video podcast is also posted on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you can listen to episodes through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Now, here's the host of Stress-Free IEP, Frances Shefter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's guest, I'm really excited about, Melissa Schulz, who is a parenting coach who helps you yell less and smile more. So now you all know why I'm so excited, because as a parent of two neurodiverse kids, we all need a lot more of that. Melissa is also a mom of three and has a master's degree in counseling and over 20 years of experience. Melissa, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got into parenting coaching.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me first, Frances. This is an honor to get to talk to you and have this conversation. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. So I spent, the last 20 plus years working with kids and just applying like the best ways to change behavior, to teach more appropriate behavior. So that way kids can just be more successful and have a better relationship with the people in their lives. And then that results in much happier parents. So now I get to do that by parent coaching and really supporting parents in teaching their kids those appropriate behaviors in a really effective way.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's so funny because I know parenting coaching is so important because yes, we can modify our kids' behavior, but if we don't modify us as a parent, it's not going to change much, right?
Yeah, right. And whatever we do, we want to make sure we're doing it in a way that's really supportive of like a great relationship with our kids, where we like really understand them and are connecting with them. And that does come from, it starts with us.
Yeah. I know I've done a lot of growing as a parent, especially like now that I've been doing my show and meeting more and more people in the coaching. It's like, oh, wait, that does make sense. Yeah. Because as a parent, we never stop learning, right? It's like, because we have it all figured out and then they switch it all up on us.
Exactly.
Oh, wait. Right.
Totally.
Like, I got this.
Keep us on our toes.
Puberty just hit.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what is it? Why? Like, I know with behaviors, it's such a challenge and so many parents struggle. Like, why is that? Is there like a reason behind it all?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, a lot of things. It's not simple, but like one is we do like just have like, there's a higher incidence of kids being diagnosed with things that bring on bigger feelings and bigger, behavior challenges. So more kids being diagnosed with ADHD or autism. We're seeing this everywhere. No one's quite sure why, but with those types of neurodivergencies, like there's just usually bigger feelings and a harder time managing behaviors and just needing a little bit of extra support. So I think there's just more and more kids experiencing that. I think also just with COVID, that was a big thing that all of our kids went through and we all went through. And so we're still really figuring out all the impacts of that now on like mental health and just like relationships and social skills and all that kind of stuff. And then I think another part of it is we're kind of in this social media world where most parents like feel isolated and are kind of just in their house with their kids, seeing kids being kids and having challenges, but then looking on social media and only seeing like the perfect images of everyone else. So I talk to moms all day and they tell me the same thing, but they feel like they're the only one. So I think just we all post kind of like our best moments and like, that's great. I want to remember those best moments. But also we think that that's their whole life when it really is everyone's highlights. And so that comparison can then make us feel very stressed out as parents when our kids are misbehaving or being even normal kids. We think that we're doing something wrong or that something has gone really wrong because we're not matching what we think is everyone else's normal life, even though that is what actual normal life is.
That makes so much sense because it's like I know there's the meme that going around about like I want to live the life I pretend to live on Facebook, Right?
Yeah, right.
Like, you see oh, look, they're feeding the fish. You don't see the 20-minute temper tantrum that
Exactly.
happened
Right.
before
That happened right
know?
before, right after that. Yeah. And I think
Right?
that's
It's
good
like,
to post and remember those moments. We want to hang on to all the joy and all those precious moments with our kids. It's really when we just start believing that that's normal life for everyone else.
right,
And
right.
not just their best moments also.
And that's why I love like the parent support groups. Like I'm in so many of them on Facebook.
Yes.
And it's funny because I'm in them on the personal level because both my kids are neurodiverse, but then like kind of on the professional level too. So it's like this, I'm just a mom here. Like, yes, I'm an education
Yes.
attorney, but I'm just a mom. I just want to be a mom.
Yeah, you need
you know,
support too, for sure.
right. I guess,
Yeah, I get a
reality
lot of
check.
support.
Like,
Yeah.
first week of school and I've already had 2 meltdowns. Wait,
Mhm.
we
Well, I
make
love
it.
like your tagline for your podcast. Yeah, you don't need to do it alone. I think that is so true. And I think that belief that we should know how to do it all or should be able to do it on our own is like that's what's causing so much pain and unnecessary pain and suffering because you
Right.
shouldn't know how to do it all on your own. And it's okay if you need support. Everyone needs support.
And that's how this show became
Yeah.
what it is, because it's like, let's build our community. And I love having so many different people on the show because, share your wisdom. We can't do it all alone. It's just
Yes.
not realistic. And
Right.
what I always like to say is it also is a really good role model for our kids.
Yes.
Because when we show we need support, like, look, we're adults and we need support. Of course, you're a child, you're going to need support too, right?
Yes. Yes. And
Just
normalizing that for them. So then when they're an adult, it'll be easier for them to ask for help when they
right.
need it.
And even as a kid, like,
Yeah.
like, why do I have to have an IEP? Like, well,
Right.
because
Yes.
we all need,
need help with things. We all need help with
right,
different things. Yeah.
exactly. We all learn differently.
And there's so much
What are
courage
some,
and bravery in getting help.
yeah. So, I mean, with parenting coaching, I know there's a lot, like people are like, oh, I don't want somebody telling me what to do and how to, how to run my household and stuff. So like, what are some of the myths about parenting coaching that kind of make it seem more negative than it is in actuality?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one right there where, yeah, some coach is going to come in and tell you, you're doing everything wrong and you have to do it this way. I don't know, a ton, but I have not heard any parenting coach really say that. I mean, what I always do with my clients is really figure out what is important to them for their family. Like, what are their values? And that's where we start. We want to start with like, what is most important to your family? And then we go from there. Then we figure out what our kid needs to learn, maybe trying to understand some of the challenging behaviors more. What skills do we need to teach our child? And then how can we do that within the framework of the values for your family? And so usually with my client, I'm like, hey, this is like probably like the top 3 ways that this is going to work best for your kid, knowing your child's like profile and kind of how their brain works. But then like what's going to work best for your whole family and that's aligned with your values. So like I parent according to my own values. And then I also like strategically, I parent my kids differently based on what they need. So I give them what they need, not what necessarily I naturally want to give, but I'm meeting
Right.
each of their needs and they have very different needs. And so it's like helping families learn how to do that within like staying true to the values for their family.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I know it's a challenge because my era grew up like we did what our parents said because our parents said so.
Right. Right.
And that does not work with today's world, right?
It does not work. Right.
Definitely not for my kids. My husband and my kids butt heads all the time because he's like, I said so, I'm the parent. And they're like, and?
Yeah, right. That's not going to work. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like knowing the best way to respond to like that type of personality. And there's nothing wrong with those kids. Those kids are like, questioning, not just immediately accepting what someone else says is a great skill. We just have to like, how do we finesse it? We don't want to like smash it down, but how do we like make it work for them so they can still be successful in school and learn how to be a respectful human? So like finding that balance with all the different personality types. But I think another myth is kind of what we were like talking about earlier is just that we like, as a mom, I should just know exactly how to parent all of my different kids with all of their challenges all on my own. And like, there's something wrong with me if I have to ask for help. Like, this just shouldn't be like something I need to spend money on, or I just should know. Like, I do like run into that a lot. And often by maybe if there's like a stay-at-home parent, maybe the parent that isn't home with the kids as much and doesn't have as much knowledge about being with kids all day and how that works. So that's another big myth. It's just not true. It's based on nothing, and it's not true. We all have a lot to learn in general. And like usually when it comes to parenting, we just kind of we know what our parents did. We know how our parents raised us. We have a lot of experience with that. That was probably for 18 years of our life. And that's what we're going to like just start doing with our kids. And maybe that will work with our kids or with one of our kids, but it's like, it makes sense that it wouldn't work for all the different personalities you have with multiple kids. And then your partner's going to come in with a different set of parenting tools, right? And sometimes we don't even really like the parenting tools our parents gave us. We don't like that style and we don't want to replicate that. And so we have to learn a lot more so we can parent each kid the way they need to be parented, not necessarily the way that we were raised. Because maybe it did, maybe it didn't work. And so either way, we have to grow a lot to know how to give our kids what they need. So there's just no shame in needing that help because it's a lot to learn. There's no way we can know all that.
It's so funny. One of the things you were saying before about that we don't want to quash the personality of our kids. I say it all the time. Like my kids have like these amazing personalities and skills that are going to be awesome when they're young adults. It just sucks when they're kids. I'm like,
it's just hard right now. For sure.
Like I don't want, I want her to question adults. I want her to not adults, but authority. And I don't want her to just take because as an answer. Like have an inquisitive mind.
So how's the balance? Yeah, like teaching like respect and still having them, be successful in a classroom and learn from a teacher and respect authority, but also not just like, the because I said so is not going to work. And we don't want to just like smash that. I know, especially in girls. I love the little strong-willed girls that like growl and stuff. I'm like, you are my favorite. I love it.
My older one has sass, and I remember it was a couple of years ago. We were at a Halloween party with adults, and she was dressed as a police officer, and there was a gentleman dressed as a pirate, and she was just like, he's like, "What are you going to arrest me?" She's like, "Yeah, I am. What are you doing wrong?" And like just totally gave it to him, and he was like, "All right, that one." I'm like, "I know."
Yes.
Like she just no qualms about like just throwing it back.
I love that. So that's really what I try to do is like, how can we like help shape these little humans that like pretty much come out with their personality set, right? Like that's just kind of how they came out. I thought it was more like balanced nature versus nurture before I had kids. And now that I have my own kids, I'm like, that is all you. Like no one taught you that. You came out that way. Like how do we just like help shape them and guide them to be the great human they are supposed to be, they're created to be. But also it can be hard to do that when you have a kid with more challenges or that's very opinionated or, some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There was a meme the other day that I was just hysterical about. It was, God, I told you I wanted my kids to look like me, not act like me. Like the little me.
Yeah, exactly. Have my eyes, not my attitude.
Right, exactly. And there was another one. It was something about a kid saying to the mom, if you don't like my attitude, check with the manufacturer.
Yep.
Yeah. Can't go far from that.
Yeah.
Because they don't. They see what we do and they respond so much. And that is like such a big thing to reality of like we see it and our kids do something. It's like, I do that. Like maybe I should stop, right?
Yeah.
And we see that. So like I know there's so many parents out there that I see it in the parent groups. We're just like done sometimes. Like we've tried everything. We've done this course and we've done that course and we've tried this parenting and that parenting and nothing's working. Like what do you say to those parents that are just at a loss?
Yeah. I mean, that's who I work with, right? The parents that really have tried everything. And so the great news is like there is still something that will work. So I think sometimes it really is just like you just don't have the right tools. Kind of like I said before, like just the tools that you happen to get from your parents like aren't working for this kid or these kids. And that's not anyone's fault. Like you just need more tools, right? So that is just, and the tools are like more strategies, more skills, like more like a different approach. I like talk a lot about how, because like we get a lot of IKEA furniture and, it's like the Allen wrench to put it all together. You just need one tool and you can make a bed or a desk or a bookcase or whatever. And sometimes we just like wish our kids were like that because we have this one tool and we're like, hey, I want to, make whatever. And that's just not how kids are. Kids are like these beautiful handcrafted furniture, for my analogy. And we need a lot of different tools and different kids need different tools or a different amount of tools. Some kids need more tools than others. So it's not a problem. No one is bad or wrong. It just means that as the adult, we need to go out and get more of those tools so we can help shape our kids into who they're supposed to be. So like sometimes like parents will either just like be really upset with themselves or think something's really wrong with their kid when they have that, then when that one tool's not working, and then they kind of give up. Or they do, like a lot of my clients have read all the books and they've listened to all the podcasts and they've, gone to webinars and bought parenting courses and stuff. And then they have like so many tools, kind of like buying these big, powerful power tools that didn't come with any instructions. So then they maybe read a book and they try to implement all of it at once. And then it's super overwhelming and it doesn't work right away. And the book can't answer their questions. So they get overwhelmed and then they quit. They just kind of give up. And maybe some of that stuff in there was the right thing for your family. Maybe not. Like a book it can't be individualized. But then that they get so overwhelmed that they stop. So then like nothing is going to work if you stop, or if part of you is believing that it won't work, then when you do try something, you're kind of like halfway in.
Right.
Like, well, give this kind of a try. And then if you're halfway in, it's like you've already given up, and that's also not going to work. So that's why like what I do with my clients is like, here are the tools you need. I'm going to teach them all to you. We're going to take it slow so you don't get overwhelmed. And I'm here to catch you. I'm going to hold your hand the whole way. So we are going to figure this out together. And I can usually tell you right away what's going to work and what's not. But even if not, if that one doesn't work, then we're just going to try something else. We're not going to let that mean that nothing will work. And then we do it in a much more like intentional way. Instead of like kind of just trying everything, throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and hoping something will stick, right? Like having more of a process where we're like going through really intentionally to find what's going to work makes it feel a lot more doable and less overwhelming.
Right. And it's a lot of, oh my gosh, I just had a thought and it just went, or as my husband said, died of loneliness. Try something new. And there it is. I know from my teaching days, and I'm sure you know from your BCBA days, is that when you start changing up things of how you do things with your children, behavior a lot of times is going to get worse.
Yes, exactly.
They're gonna push that, push it back and
well, I use like the vending machine analogy with my client. It's kind of like, let's say you go to this vending machine in your office every day and you go and you buy a soda every day, right? Every day you put the money in, you press the button, soda comes out. Great. That's how it works. And then one day you put your money in and you press the buttons and nothing comes out. So as an adult human with a fully formed brain, right, we will press the button harder. We start shaking the machine, right? Some people are trying to like knock the machine over.
Right.
And then we're like, okay, this doesn't work right now. It's not working anymore. I'm going to give up, and we move on. So like adults become aggressive towards like inanimate objects, right? When something that used to work doesn't work anymore. And that's kind of how it works with our kids. If we're doing the right thing, sometimes behavior does get worse for a little while because they're like, wait a minute, this tantrum used to, get me a cookie, right? And she's not giving me the cookie. So maybe she didn't hear me. Let me tantrum louder. Let me like start kicking. Let me start throwing things. She's not noticing something's wrong. It's like when we're banging on the vending machine, but then eventually when they're like, oh, this tantrum doesn't get me the cookie anymore. It's a very simple example, but you know what I mean? Okay, fine. I'm going to try something else. And she's making me say, please. And that gets me the cookie. So fine, I'll just say, please. So that's like a very simplified example. But yeah, if you've read a book and then you try it and then everything gets much worse, and you don't know that's going to happen and don't have like the support or the emotional resources to like handle having a week or two of extra tantrums, then that's going to be very distressing for everyone. And then you're not going to be able to stick with it, even if that was the right thing.
Yeah. And I love the tantruming that you give that as an example, because we had foster kids over the weekend and the 3-year-olds. And of course, so they temper tantrumed when they got, when we told them no, they didn't get it. And my kids are like, yeah, that doesn't work in this house. And it was just like, 7 and 10-year-old, like tell the 3-year-old, that's not going to work here.
Like you can if you want to, but it's not going to work. Yeah.
You're not going to get what you want here. And then the kids figured it out that, okay, wait, that didn't work here. Someplace else it worked with a different adult, but this one it doesn't. So let's try a different way.
Usually learn pretty quickly. And 2 of my kids are higher needs too. And so a lot of it is like just really figuring out what they need. Or sometimes when we hear a diagnosis about our kids, we're like, oh, well, they have ADHD. So that's why they're just going to always, they're going to always behave that way. Or they have autism. So they're always going to behave that way. So then we kind of give up in advance on that also. And we just accept it when it doesn't, that's not true. Like, yes, they need maybe more support, more coping skills, more understanding of where they at because of maybe that neurodivergence or like that difference. But it doesn't mean that they can totally learn appropriate behavior. They just need you even more to help teach them. But then it's also harder for parents to know if you don't have a lot of experience with that. And most people don't, because why would you?
Right. And that's a big thing with, especially I know with a lot of the autism parent groups of
Yeah.
that we don't want to teach our kids to mask. Like that's
Right.
not what we want to do. Like it's
Right.
not about teaching them to fit in and behave the way they are, but it's
Right.
teaching them how to be themselves in a
Yes.
way that can function appropriately in society.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And how to like be okay when they feel uncomfortable, or like how to be okay with all the emotions that come up with that.
Right. Like it's big emotions are normal and what they need to do to regulate themselves. Like
Exactly.
it's okay to check out. Like, you're
Yeah, right.
overstimulated and something's going, like it's just too much going on and you need an
Yeah,
out. Like to say, I need out and go,
totally. Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's
But
what
it's
we
how
use the
empowering
flash
to
pass
give
for. Yeah.
them, those tools, right? Instead of them having to figure that out
Exactly.
on their own or as adults. It's like such an amazing gift if we can help our kids figure that out when they're young.
Right. And that's one of the biggest things on IEPs and stuff that we put in the flash passes and that stuff is that we're
Yeah.
teaching the kids coping strategies. And I know I've heard so many times of parents that don't know and stuff like, well, they can't run away like that when they're in the real world and adulting. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Like,
Like,
yeah,
I'm
why
feeling
not?
overwhelmed. I need to go to the bathroom and take 5 minutes to myself. Like that's a very, adults do that all the time.
Right, exactly. How many
yeah.
times have people been at parties and they've just decided to leave
Right.
or go for a walk? Like,
Right.
why can't they?
Right.
100%.
Or
Well, if
this
they're
work
in a
environment
board,
is very distressing to me and stressful, so I'm going to find a different one. Like kids
right,
can't really do that at school. So yeah, as
yeah,
adults, we can do that. We can modulate that and regulate that for ourselves a lot easier since we have more authority over ourselves than kids do. So it's teaching
yeah,
kids how to still find those ways to get what they need
right,
and be successful in that environment, but not be in trouble and all that stuff also because they're trying their
right.
best.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like when they get, especially when we look at the little ones that get totally dysregulated
Yeah.
and they're flipping out because they don't know. They have these big emotions. They don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And so what do we do? Like as parents, how do we help them? As teachers, how do we help them
Yeah.
understand these emotions?
Right.
Right. Like that's like the biggest challenge I know as a parent is like the
Yes.
kids having big emotions, which then triggers us as parents, our big emotions,
Yes.
and then what, right?
Totally. Well, and so an example I use for that is like, let's say you're like walking down a path and you see like a little brush fire. And you're like, oh, fire, that's not supposed to be there. But then there's a firefighter right there. So, and he's like calm. He's just like checking his phone. I don't know. Probably they don't do that, but like he's calm. So you're like, oh, it's fine. This is a controlled fire. No problem. But then if the brush fire is there and the firefighter is like yelling into his walkie-talkie and running around, like now you are going to be like, oh no, this is not safe. This fire is not safe. This is not under control. I'm not safe, right? And you're going to have a much bigger reaction too. So sometimes when our kids have those big emotions that just come up for them, it's like that brush fire, right? It's there. The fire is there inside them. They have those big emotions, but then we are that firefighter. So they look to us. And if they're having this big meltdown or big tantrum or just really big feelings, and then we are also very triggered and having really big feelings. Now, not only do they have the feelings, now like they're getting messages from us that it's not safe to have those big feelings. Something's wrong that they have those big feelings, right? So that's going to make them have even more height. So everyone's just escalating, right? And we've all been there. But some of the keys too is to learn how to, for me as the parent, to be able to like genuinely be okay in my body and be calm, even if my kid is having a meltdown in the grocery store or whatever happens. It's like, how can I genuinely, not faking it, not like a robot person, but like genuinely be okay in that moment, like take care of all of my emotions in that moment. So then I can be that calm that they can look at me and be like, okay, yes, I see this brush fire, but it's okay, right? I have big feelings inside my body, but my mom can handle it. My mom's not worried. She's got it. It's going to be done soon. It's fine. And so that's like a huge thing that we as parents, because we can control that. We can control what we can do, even if we can't always control what our kids are doing. We can control how we respond to it and who we are when they are having those behaviors. But
and that makes so much sense. It brings me back to when kids are playing on the playground and a kid falls down and scrapes their knee. If you ever truly watch, the first thing they do is they look at the adult.
Exactly.
And how if the adult is like, oh my gosh, the kid starts crying. If the adult's like, you're good, brush it off.
Yeah.
Then the kid gets up and goes plays.
Right.
Like,
yeah, like this is okay. Yeah, they are always looking at us, and less and less as they get older, but especially in the early years, they're always looking at us to help regulate their own responses. Like, is this safe? Right? When they see a spider at first, they might not care, and then we're like, oh, spider, and now they're like, ah, they're really scared of spiders because their safe person taught them to be scared of spiders, which maybe is a helpful response. Like, we don't want them playing with spiders, but they are always looking to us. So if we are having a really hard time managing our own triggers, which often we do when we have a high needs kid or high needs kids, right? We need more emotional resources to be able to be that person that can stay calm with big meltdowns all day, right? We have to have more emotional resilience inside of us and create that inside of us to be able to be there for our kids.
Yeah. And that's something I talk about a lot, often on the show, and have people about the self-care. Like on the airplane, they say, put your mask on first and then the kid's mask. And my little one, last time we flew, said, well, mommy, why is that? And I'm like, because if I'm not taking care of me, then I'm not breathing okay. How can I take care of you? And then she's like, oh, okay. Like it connected to her.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Because if our cup is empty, we got nothing left.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But when we are taking care of and have that like overflow, right, then we are different. We're creating a different like feeling in our house. We're responding to our kids differently. And just that right there makes everything so much better. I do, every once in a while I'll do like a free parenting challenge, and it's like for 1 month, and it's really just like kind of tracking your kids' behavior. And then I'll give you some like general parenting advice, but nothing a lot. The main thing though is just like self-care. Like you get points for like drinking water, going outside, exercising, eating fruits and vegetables, doing something that brings you joy, like one-on-one quality time with your kid. And so just really doing those things for a month and being really aware makes the behaviors, like everyone saw so much behavior improvement, not even really changing the actual behavior, just by taking care of themselves better. Right. So that's a really fun one to run.
Right. Because if I'm hangry or I'm over emotional, I'm not reacting in my right brain,
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And then we're just like, everyone's all triggered and yeah.
And then it just is a hot mess. And I know, like, I remember we did one of the parenting classes, part of it, we never finished it. But, one of the biggest things was that they called it mind, body, soul time. Some people call it time in. We now call it me time. That's what my kids discovered. And it's just like each kid gets 15 minutes with mom or dad, just them, whatever they want to do. And then no phones, nothing else. And then we switch off. And interesting, the kids started doing, sometimes they want family time, like family game night, which is a lot of fun. Which reminds me, we need to break that out again. I was in Florida with my mom and my kids, and my nephew came with us, and we taught my kids how to play Rummy Cue.
I love that game.
That's fun. I love it. Yeah. And then, so the kids, like, they caught on really well. And my nephew kept pushing to teach them Crazy Gin.
Okay.
Which is like, it's an insane game. It's like 6 hands and all the taking out a turn, other stuff.
A little more complicated.
And my mom and I were like, slow down, because my 10-year-old just learned Rummy Cue. Yeah. And she's like, I got it. And my 10-year-old's very bright in math. She's an advanced math. And we taught it to her, and she caught on. She played with me like 2 games. Yeah. And she's like, all right, Mom, I'm going to make the decisions and you just help me. I'm like, okay.
All right.
And it's so awesome, like, that she's like getting into that. And it was just such a great bonding time with my mom and me and my nephew and the kids. The little one was a little too little to play groups and runs, but my mom had a shuffler that because you play with 2 decks. And so the little one was so excited to be a shuffler, I'll shuffle the cards.
That's so great.
It's really cute.
That's one of like the best things, like best tips I'll tell anyone if they're struggling with their kids' behavior is like, just spend 10, 15 minutes one-on-one with them. And you're focused on, and you're doing what they want to do. Like the rules are like, it's like child directed, and you're not like correcting them or teaching them or lecturing them. Like, no, you're just like, you can talk about what they want to talk about. No lessons. It's just like really child led. And it's really like filling up the kids, like their bucket for attention and just like love. And then it helps you guys be so much more connected. And so I love that you
Right.
have
And that
that like daily
they
practice.
belong, and
Yeah,
it's
all the good
such a
things.
difference.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just as they are, right? You like their
Yeah.
interests. Like it's like so many great messages can happen, even in 10 minutes a day.
Right. And it's funny that when putting my older one to bed, sometimes she just starts talking, and I'm like, Hannah, my sweetheart, I absolutely love you, and I want to hear everything you have to say, but it's 10 o'clock at night, and you need to go
Yeah.
to sleep right now.
Yes.
Let's talk in the morning.
Yeah. I'll
Like,
be like, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'm so excited
right,
to see you tomorrow. But mom is all done for tonight.
right. Like, I have
Bedtime
to
tonight.
do lunches, and I have to do this, and
Exactly.
yeah, but they're so fun. So, like,
Yeah.
what are some pointers you could give parents? Like, if parents are like, yeah, whatever, all set, I've heard it all, I've done it all. What are some
Mhm.
pointers you could give to some parents that are listening of like just one or two things additional that, other than that 5 to 10 minutes of just me time?
Yeah, I mean, the 5 to 10 minutes, I think just like the heart of it, like just like don't give up. Like just don't believe that nothing's gonna work. Like keep trying something else. Like I think everything that if you are a parent that has tried a lot of things and it hasn't worked yet, like keep that yet on the end of it. And just know like that's been part of your journey, right? And like most people do want to try a lot of other things first before they maybe make a bigger investment in figuring stuff out. So even if the books didn't work or the podcast didn't work, that doesn't mean nothing will work. And so
Right.
just keep finding the thing that's going to work because there's 100% something out there that's going to work really well for your family to help give your kids all the skills they need to help you feel more connected to them. Like just the benefits are just so huge for your family. And so like don't wait and don't give up because you're going to look back and just be so thankful that you did that for your kids.
Right.
So I think that's like the biggest one. And the other one is like, yes, like ask for help, find help. If that's not working, there is no shame in connecting with someone like me for help for parenting, finding maybe a therapist if it's more like, just the emotional stuff or anyone in your world that you are connecting with, like just get the help and like don't wait because sometimes we wait for them to grow out of it. Or like, this is
Right.
just going to pass, right? Let me just
Yep.
get through the day, count down the minutes till bedtime, and I'm sure this will get better. And like, yes and no. Like they do change, but they don't grow out of it. So maybe this behavior eventually is not what they're going to do, but like they're doing this behavior because they don't have skills to do something better. They have a need that they need to have met, and this is the best way they know how to do it. And so until we teach them a better way to ask for a break or get the help they need in that moment, they're going to get older. And so the behavior is going to look different, but that need is still going to be there. And so they're still going to be trying random things to get that need met. So like,
That makes so
yes,
much
they grow out of
sense.
it, but it just changes. So like the
Right.
sooner you can figure it out and give your child the skills they need, the less you're going to suffer, the less they're going to suffer. And the more they're going to just like have the skills they need to feel happy and successful. And like, that's really what we want for our kids. We want them to be
Right.
happy and successful adults, but that starts right now. So like,
That
don't
makes
wait.
so much sense.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the like, well, the movies and all that other stuff, but the kids that are in sometimes not as great homes and stuff like
Yeah.
that look for that belonging. And
Yes.
that's, and looking for it in all the wrong places sometimes because
Right.
it's who accepts them for who they are and like
Yes.
finding that. And we need to teach that kids, home and where they are now, or even for teachers that are listening. Because I said all the time, the teachers, like sometimes we're the safe
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because at least I know when I taught in the inner city when I taught, and like I remember one time there was a little girl that she was just not feeling well, and you could see it. She was just so sick. I'm like, do you want me to call your mommy so you can go home? And it was like, no. And she was curled up on my lap the whole time, but that's what
Oh,
she needed, like she needed that.
yeah. She wanted
And
to
she
be
knew,
in a safe,
yeah,
loving place, and that's where she
right.
was.
Which
Oh,
I mean, and I'm sure her mom loved her in the old way, but
right.
it wasn't the same,
Right. Right.
capacity.
Well,
So
I talk to a lot of good parents that like love their kids so much, but like when if your child's behavior is out of control and you don't know why, and you're like, oh, they're just wild or they're strong-willed or they're, you're like kind of labeling it or you don't get it and you're getting frustrated about it, like you're not really understanding your child. Like you love them, but you don't get them. And like that is like our child needs someone to get them, right? Like our child needs to be like, oh, and I've so thankfully, like with my high needs kids, like I have gotten to this place with them where I'm like, oh yes, we are having very big feelings right now. We are yelling and slamming doors, and that's not what I would like, but also I get why. I know exactly why. I know exactly how to respond. And so my kids like feel held and understood even in those moments. And so that's what we want, right? We're not trying to make perfect little robot children. Like we want to love our kids as they are and just teach them better skills. But like when your child has a lot of behaviors and you don't know what to do, like that's what's missing, right? We want you to oh, I 100% understand why you're acting like this. So you don't have to like it. We can keep working to improve it, but like you want to get it. So that way your child has someone deeply understands them, even in their worst moments, and is there for them and loves them in those moments.
Yeah. And it's to remember, I know for me also, is that, when your child has the meltdown because you gave them the blue cup instead of the red cup, even though they asked for the blue cup, right? Even though they asked for it, but they meant the red one.
Yeah, you wanted your square cut in 4, and now you're mad that it's not cut in 2. I don't have a sandwich cake. So
then you remember, it has nothing to do with that cup. Like that's not what it is. There's something else going on that's the trigger, and it's just remember that and to find that piece. It's funny because with my younger one or my older one, like humor always works well with her. And I think back to when I was a child, it was the same thing with my father. My father would be like angry. Like I remember one day I was cleaning out the car and he comes outside. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "I'm riding a bicycle. What does it look like?" And he just busted out laughing. Anger was gone. That was the end of it. And it works with my kid too. Like she comes in pissed off and, "I hate when my friends do this." I'm like, "Yes, I know. I wish I didn't have friends." And then she's like, "Wait, what?" like you just gotta, like get them out of that spot.
Right.
It's like acknowledge it. But that's the other thing is like making sure you acknowledge their feelings. Like
exactly. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And I have a kid, like one kid who, when he's escalated, like I want to like be there and give him coping strategies and empathize, right? And that's not what he needs. And that's what I have learned, a long time ago, but he needs now just a couple minutes on his own, right? And then he will he just needs a couple seconds, and then he'll come, not a couple minutes, and then he comes back and he's great, and then we can process, and then we're good, right? But if I want to like keep talking, and that's not what he needs. So and then I have another kid that like needs that like comfort and assurance and that talking to help. So it's like knowing what they each need in that moment and giving it to them, even when sometimes I'm like, oh, like it's harder for us. That's not what we want.
You just want to hold them.
Yeah. Let me just hug you and it'll be all better. Like, no.
Right. And then that's the same thing with my kids. My older one, like she needs her time, her space, and then she'll come and she'll cuddle into me. Whereas my younger one just needs that holding.
Exactly.
She's safe,
Yeah.
And that's it. It's figuring it out. And again, you're not expected to know. Kids don't come with manuals.
Exactly.
And if they did, it would be, like miles long. Because
you would be too overwhelmed to read it.
Right? Because, like this happens and then that happens. And then you have this neurodiversity or that neurodiversity. And, like no two kids are alike, even if they have the same diagnosis and similar profile.
Totally. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Everyone's still unique humans who has unique human brains and their own phase of development and figuring all that out.
And they're so fun. Like, and that's the thing. Like I take my step back and remember, like, yes, as a parent, it's guiding our children, right? And teaching them the emotional and teaching them, how to function in society and stuff, but it's also having fun with them.
Yes.
Like it's okay to just have fun and have one of those silly days that you're just laughing and smiling and playing on, like it doesn't matter. There was one day the kids were like, "Let's go to the pool." And I had all the stuff that I needed to do. I'm like, "You know what? Yep, let's go." Like we just packed up stuff and just left it all behind. And my husband's like, "What are you going to do about dinner?" I'm like, "I don't know. We'll figure it out." Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And it just
like sometimes when we have kids that are higher needs or have a lot of behavior challenges, like it steals some of that joy from parenting, right? We just kind of get bogged down in the heavy and the hard, and then we're not really able to enjoy them. We're just like waiting for them to grow out of it. But then we're not like treasuring all the good moments of each day. And so like, that's what like really figuring out child's behavior can do is like, you just really enjoy your time with your kids again. Because you're going to look back and like miss these days, right? And not in a way to make people feel, I hate those memes where it's like making you feel, I'm not trying to make anyone feel guilty. Sometimes those not kind of me, but I want to know that I enjoyed all the good moments. Yes. And so it's like really trying to find the joy every day. And maybe some days it's less than others, but like, what are all the joyful moments that I can just hold on to? And how can I create more of those and
Right.
have those during the hard times.
Yeah. And it's funny. I keep saying I'm going to start keeping a book of like what my, like the fun times, like you're the best mom ever,
Yeah.
So like when we have those days where you're the worst mom ever.
Right.
Yesterday you said I was the best mom,
You're like, can you write that down and sign it and date it? Thank you. I will use this as evidence later. Yes.
Right,
I'm the best mom.
exactly.
You got me a
That's so
mug.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So this has been so awesome. What, like, if people are like, okay, parenting coaching might be what I need right now. What should they do? How should they get in contact with you? What's the best way?
Yeah. So I am on Facebook and Instagram at Confidently Mommin. Well, there's no G. It's like the IN at the end. And so please connect with me there. I actually, if you're listening to this soon, I have a webinar coming up in a couple weeks in September on how to improve your child's behavior forever. So it's going to be talking about this more, but it's like really helping you understand why your kid's doing what they're doing and how you can teach maybe more appropriate behaviors. And then I have a free e-guide, like how to get your kids to listen, that I'm happy to send out to people. And if you are looking to hire a parenting coach, I do a free consultation. So we hop on Zoom and we really dig into what's going on for your kid, for your family. And then I'll help you find some of the underlying issues and we'll come up with a plan that will help solve it forever. So that's
Awesome.
how they can connect with me.
And I know we'll put all the links to all of your socials and everything in the show notes but this has been so awesome and so helpful and just so reinforcing, like, as a parent, like that it's okay. We don't need to do it alone and we're all going to mess up. It's who we are. It's the reality, right?
Yeah.
We're doing the best we can
100%.
just get through.
We're all doing the best we can. And yeah, thank you for all you do. Cause someone else with that in a lot of different seats at the IEP team table. It's so important to have someone on your side and supporting you and just to know like how to get your kids what you need. Because even if you have the best IEP teams, maybe they don't always know, and you need to be the advocate and expert for your child. And so I'm glad that you get to help families do that. It's so important. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Stress-Free IEP with your host, Frances Shefter. Remember, you do not need to do it all alone. You can reach Frances through schefterlaw.com, where prior episodes are also posted. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing the show with others through YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more.